Before we get into today's video, I want to show you something. All right, so that visual that I gave you of this cup overflowing with water as I slowly panicked, I want that stuck in your head. I want you to think about it. Get it there? Is it stuck there? Good. Hold on to that as we go into a story. You see, I came from a background in education, and I used to go to a lot of meetings on how to be an efficient teacher. One of these meetings talked about the analogy of a cup. You see, as teachers, we were told to check in with our students, to see how full their cup was before they started their day. And, as Bruce Lee said, a full cup can hold no more water. Now, when I was telling my wife about this script, she said, in the self-help world, filling your cup means like filling your gas tank, so you got to be really clear on what you mean. So in this analogy, the cup is everything that we need to do during the day. It's our anxieties, it's our to-do list, it's the day-to-day actions. It is the everything. It goes into this cup. We are talking today about our own priorities and how the cup analogy can help us organize our priorities so that we can be the most efficient people that we can be. When I am feeling overwhelmed with so many demands, this is one of the best ways that I have found to prioritize my to-do list and move forward. So let's take a look at it. We're going back to the cup analogy. Okay, so we start our day with a fairly empty cup. As we go through our day, we notice little things around the house that we need to clean up. We got to cook breakfast. We got to do this. We've got a friend that called. They need help moving, and all of a sudden we've got that on our list, and it's in the back of our head. We're freaking out over our yearly job review, and that's floating around in the back of our head. Our child has a soccer game that they need to go to. We've got that report that's due in a couple days. Oh, and your wife just sprang an unknown dinner engagement that you have to go. And all of a sudden, as these things lift up, our cup overflows. So how do we prioritize all of that stuff? I'm gonna get this out of the way because it's getting really messy over here. And we're gonna go up to the office to talk about that. All right, there we go, all cleaned up. Now, how can we use this analogy to help us prioritize our day? I like to think of the water coming from 4 sources: family, in real life friends, everything else acquaintances, and then the 4th pot is special. I call it the seasoning pot, and that's the you pot. Every ask that's demanded of us gets pulled out of one of these pots. And if we just throw water willy-nilly into it, our cup overflows really quick. So we need to prioritize these asks to make sure that we get the most out of life and feel like we are doing amazing jobs. Now, I like to refer to pot 1 as the family pot. And this isn't because of anything other than they deserve the most attention. Our family should be our core. And as such, the demands of the family should always be the first thing into our pot. You can make room for everything else, but you need to balance and make sure that pot 1 has priority. So when I'm creating my plan for the day, I look at the demands that I would be sad if I missed. Or I put myself in my shoes of my younger self. And what demands would I have been so upset if my parents missed? And that always gets top priority. That always gets room for the day, and that is a non-negotiable. Pot 2 is our in real life friends. These are the people that are there for you. These are the people that you can call up after a hard day. Pot 2 should always get priority, just not as much as family pot 1. Pot 3 is our lowest priority pot. This is the demands that we place on ourselves to appease people that we don't necessarily know, or in some cases we don't necessarily like. This is the thing that drains us, that puts more anxiety, more stress into our day, but we don't necessarily feel the reward. This is the lowest priority pot. It has to happen, as a lot of our work stuff is in this pot. But it is also the things that you can easily drop for another thing. Now, I said 4 pots. The 4th pot, the seasoning pot, the U pot, is one of the most important things. You see, this is the things that takes fluid out of your cup. How do you use the me pot, the seasoning pot? After every single to-do item on your list is checked off, check. Take a moment before you jump into the next item and think, where am I at? Can I do the next item, or is that going to make my cup overflow? Because remember, once we overflow, we hit anxiety. We can't move anymore, remove ourselves from society. It looks different for everybody, but it is an ugly situation, something that we should avoid. So after every single to-do item is checked off our list, think, how am I feeling? And can I do another ask? If you can't, it's time to add a little bit of seasoning to get some of that fill out of your cup. But all of these seasonings, all of these level 4 pots, they have a limitation to them. You see, I can play a video game for 5 hours at a time if I don't think about it. But at what point does that stop taking things out of my cup? After 45 minutes of playing a game, it's no longer removing things from my cup. After about an hour and a half, it actually starts adding things to my cup, because then the to-do list, like a dark shadow, starts going over you and is filling that cup with anxiety and thoughts of, I'm not good enough, things like that. That is why it's the seasoning cup. And that's why you don't prioritize it. Use the seasoning to empty your cup enough to get the next thing on your list. So now, to put it into action. We know what the pots are. We know that our cup can't get too full. We know that we can't pull from different pots. How do we use this? On days where I feel like I've got a lot on my plate, I write down everything that I need to get done. It can even be everything that I don't necessarily know that I need to get done, but it's everything that I need to get done. After every item, once I have my list compiled, I put a number next to it. A 1, a 2, a 3, a 4. And I go through, and once every item on my to-do list is numbered, I can go through and I can prioritize my list based on the pots. As I go through the day, I add items, I remove items, I add some seasoning, I take some breaks, and my list is ever changing. The best thing about writing down a list, especially on paper, is it gets the ability to change, because nothing is written in stone. This is how I do it. I'm curious, how do you all do it? Leave a comment below. Let the community know if there's anything that you add to priorities or anything that helps you manage your day better. And if you've made it this far, don't forget to subscribe.